Just putting the recording on. Okay, Anna, so now it's your turn.
So hey,
Just a moment, friends. Please mute yourself because so that we don't have any noises in the background. Only after that, if you want to ask questions, you can unmute. I'm muting myself as well.
okay, that's a lot of pressure. So thank you so much for having me. I guess I'll say a little bit about myself. So my name is Anna, and I am Russian. I live in the United States. I've been here for almost 20 years. I do have my private practice as a psychotherapist, so I work with emotions and relationship and how it's all handled in the household a lot. Work a lot with anxiety um, and the trauma. So that's my professional life. My personal, I think Arik has mentioned, before I became a therapist, I had energy healing practice. So I actually did that for about a year. And then I've decided that people mental state has to change for them to stay healthy. So I started offering that to people as a service. So had that, and then as far as my fasting, I've done Ekadashi probably for about 8 years now. It's not for like a religion purposes per se, but for my own spiritual and cleansing. So that's a twice a month, like 36 hours twice a month on 11th day of the lunar cycle, where the energy is the lowest on Earth. And then when I had my last baby, I've kind of stopped doing that because I couldn't find information how, like, if I'm pregnant and fasting, and if I'm breastfeeding and fasting, would it just the fears, because I wasn't like, I didn't know much. And I really wish I've continued on, because now I know that it would be totally safe to continue to do like once a week or twice a month, and being pregnant and breastfeed, it would not like affect the baby on any way. And then last year, actually, about exactly, I think I've started like April 4th. Last year, I did a retreat with a 7-day dry fast. And then I prep for about, I think, 21 days. Like for the longer fast, like it's good to prep for like 3 times more. Like if you fast is 7 days, you want to prep for 21 days, and then you the time that you recover from the fast is also 21 days. So that was like a raw, like a lot of juicing and like liquids. So I did that last year in Greece, in a beautiful island. So that like I can talk about that. And right now I'm doing that's what Arik and I was talking. I'm doing a cascade where for 1 month of April I do 36 hours of dry fast, but I do a little bit more just because of my schedule, but 36 hours is kind of the minimum. And then the next day it's like water and food, and then in other days again the dry fast. So it's, you alternate the days. um, and so that's kind of about me and my personal experience and my professional experience. And hopefully I can kind of combine it all together and talk about the how what is fasting, like what does it mean for us, like for our body, but also what it does it mean for our mind, and maybe like some, I don't know, I really like kind of a group participation. So if you even maybe like write, like if you want to type the questions, I'll definitely read it, and I'll be able to talk about it as I'm like talking, because it's really hard for me to just kind of talk and empty for the whole hour. Or so about the cascade, no, let's start. Should start. Let's start. Let's finish the cascade, since Arik and I started talking about it. So the cascade for me personally is much easy. The benefits on a health wise and the cleansing wise is not as great as if you do like continuous 7-day fast or like 10 days or 11 days or 5 days, like if you do 1 day on 1 day off. But it's much easier for the body and it's much easier for the mind. And it's a lot about kind of building a muscle, like building your fasting muscle, like your mind get used to it, and then it's not as drastic change, and you don't swing from one extreme to another. So that's been really good for me. It was in the beginning was maybe a little bit hard, but on a food days I find like not having much appetite or not being so hungry. Thank you. I see your. This is great. I see your questions. Um, so so those are great if you can start slow and then increase the time, like build the muscle, because that would be much more beneficial. You would not swing back as much. So like my experience of the 7-day fast, even though I thought I was prepared because I had done like 2 days and 3 days by myself, and I, read a lot and kind of like practiced Kundalini yoga and energy healing. So I was like really strong and prepared. But when I came off of it, it wasn't good. Like I didn't have enough like psychological support for myself. So I actually swing back a lot and like didn't fast for a little while because I couldn't find the intention, the inner intention for it. So it's very important to like start slow and gradually increase, and really be able to like listen to your body, but like remember that our minds sometimes play devil's advocate. So I want to read Irina's question. I heard the experience that longer fasting more longer than 18 hours is affecting women's hormones. It's all fears and all myths. Actually, it does affect the hormones, but it stabilizes so much your like inner world, your body and how your body functions. So it's I think if it does affect, it's only has like a positive effect. Like if you talk about the cycle, when I had this 7-day fast, I believe my cycle did come back to normal. But then like again with the cycle, what a cycle is like for the women's cycle is when your body once a month flushes all the like dirt and then it comes out of blood with the blood. So with the heavy cycle, that means you have a lot of toxins that your body tries to get rid of. So when you eat clean and then you fast periodically, like my cycle is very minimal right now. It's like maybe 1.5 days, and like it's very minimum, without any cramps. So just to keep that in mind, I'm hoping that I've answered your question. So please have the like welcome questions. It will be easy for me to like flow. But talking about the like psychological effects on and like fasting, and how we actually like relate to food, and what's the food means for us in the world. And as I agreed to this webinar, and I was thinking about it for a day. My friend actually, Anna, like, are you writing notes? Are you preparing? And I like to really have the information to flow naturally. I believe I do have a lot of knowledge. So and the group also shapes the information that will come to me. But so I was thinking, and even with my people, when I work with my clients, we talk a lot about emotions, right? So we have basic emotions: sad, angry, scared, joy, and like disgust. Like this, that's the basic human emotions. Everything else, it's a soup, like a combination of several emotions. And anger is usually a reactive emotion with a secondary emotion. And most of the time it comes from most of the time it comes from fear of some sort. And like I was thinking how we, like, if you think about when we're children, right, when we have a little child, as soon as there's a crying happens, and as soon as the child is unhappy, what happens to us, like if we have children, it makes us feel uncomfortable, right? Like we want to make them feel happy, we want to make them feel okay. What is a caretaker strategy, but a lot of times we don't know how to hold a space for that emotion. We're like, okay, you bump your arm and you're crying right now, so let me just kind of hold you here and say it's okay, it definitely hurts. I'm not going to minimize the emotion. I'm not going to say, well, it's not that bad, or it's going to be better, because that's when we say that, the child will think about, oh, like what I'm thinking, what I feel right now, what hurts, it's not right. And that's how it becomes like a confusion later on. And then what happens, we give the candy or we give the ice cream, right? We do something to make this emotion go away. So that also, that will like our brain and our body like remembers everything, and it will record, right? So in the future, when I feel sad, when I'm like 40 years old and my boyfriend dumped me, like what do? I go into the store and I buy like a candy, or I buy a bucket of ice cream. I don't do this anymore, but before, like I'll turn to food, a chocolate, right? And that helps me to like feel happy in a moment, feel okay in a moment. But it does come from the childhood. Also, when we celebrating something, right? When we have a graduation, or we have an award, or we have some sort of like a birthday or anything, it's all around the food. So when I'm joyful and happy, like I also eat, and that's also like some sort of outside event is wrapped with my own emotions. And that also records to with my in my memory, in my brain. So later on, I think, oh, okay, like I did, like I ran 10 miles, like I did so good, I deserve something, like I deserve a reward. And reward for some reason has to be the food. So we have a lot of like a psychological attachments to food. There's also the negative one, negative attachments, where we punish ourselves. And that also comes a lot from the childhood, where we were maybe say, well, you didn't do good today, so you're not going to get dessert, or you have to eat your vegetables, whatever. We have so much of that trash, or whatever those like information. I shouldn't call that trash. I should really try to stay positive. Um so like have so much of that in our mind that like we clear when we go into the fasting, when we go actually into some sort of change of behavior, all of that will come up. And that's why it's so important to not like dive head first, and really recognize what are we eating, why are we eating, what's the reason, what are we hungry for, like what's the reason we pick up like one food or another. And so that's kind of, does that make sense? Maybe like somebody like say something, that would be great. I see Arik nodding.
No, I was just thinking that maybe this pattern of pacifying yourself through food actually comes from the infancy, where, like, for example, when the baby is crying, the mother, the natural tendency is to offer him or her breast, and so it probably comes from really, really early age.
Like there's a reason I didn't want to talk about offering the breast, like it's because with breast there's a lot more than food. There's that safety, there's security, and there's that attachment, and it's awesome. Like we do want to encourage that, because it's a lot more than food. So like, yes, the food will come and it comes it, but it's that actually the human body. And then, are you gonna hold me now when I'm crying? Are you am I okay when I'm crying? You're not gonna lock me in a room when I'm crying. So there's a lot, and that's the reason I didn't kind of mention the breast. But yes, it does come like later on. Irina asking, could I tell the effect of long fasting on kidney when I have a chance? I'll just answer the question as they come up. So I did personally, like as a preparation for my 7-day fast, I did the cleansing. I did the 30-day cleansing. I purchased the Schultz, Dr. Schultz 30-day cleanse thing, and it has intestinal and liver and kidney, and again it's intestinal, and it's pretty intense cleanse. It's supposedly like cleans the parasites out of the system. So I wouldn't suggest to do anything long term without the preparation, but with like if you prepare your body with the dry fasting, it can only help to like cleanse, because what happens when we fast, when we, especially for the long time, and especially with the dry fasting, there's no water that comes from outside, so the cells in our body, the ones the weaker, are get like eaten by a better cells. So we have to kind of figure that out. The body is pretty smart to figure that out. um the the only thing, it's our fear and it's our misconception, because we've been told that, we have to drink water to stay hydrated. If you don't drink water, this and this will happen. And all of that information from the society for the long times, that um creates the fear effect. And if, like I always say, even like for any of my practices, I say, if you're scared, don't do it. Like you really have to get comfortable and say, okay, am I okay with it? And is it like, separate yourself, and then you can do it. But if you're scared, don't do it. Figure out the fear first. And
Can I say something? I'm sorry.
sure.
For 2 weeks, I did 36 hours for 3 days, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and it was so easy. It was so amazing, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna continue. And this week, I felt like if I skip breakfast, I'm gonna just die. Like something happens in my brain, and I just can't get to it. I don't know what happened. And for 2 weeks, I can't stop eating. So what is it like? It was a different person.
So in my personal experience, is the swing. Okay, so when we go in and do something, and we like, okay, I'm gonna do this, this is good, this is happening, and then the swing back is that fear. It's that like, if you ever read like Zeland, he talks about the pendulum. So if we bring the pendulum one side too much too fast, you have a book, yeah, yep, that's it. So if we bring the pendulum to on one side, then the swing back will be on the other side. So the best thing is to do is kind of breathe through it. Like, remember the motivation, the intention, like your initial intention. What's the reason you started? When your brain starts saying, like, remember, the brain is not you. You are not the brain. And the brain will be talking, like the mind will be talking to you, try to get you back on it. Yes, we need to eat meat, we need to eat protein, we need to do all of that. And it's all like, is it even your thoughts? Or is the society thoughts? And like, I always, like, I've done so much, and like I've realized that it's all layers, like peeling onions. And like, it's always seems like, hey, on this one layer, oh, I'm gonna do great, but like, there's so much to it. So one is like, it's okay, like, really accept yourself where you are, and be able to kind of embrace that. Like, if you feel like you need that breakfast right now, allow yourself, because you don't want to create any more of tension and force. And then as you do that, as you allowing yourself, still have an intention, if that's your intention, to continue like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, have that intention. But if you feel like, if there's like that fear for like you have to eat and there's only way you can do whatever, write it down, right? But allow yourself, don't create any more force, because if there's a force with any addiction, if there's like a force, if we start fighting, you're going to swing, and you don't want to swing. Yeah, go ahead.
It feels like whatever the motivation was for me, let's say I read the Filonov and it's like, 3 days fasting, no problem.
Yeah.
But then the same motivation would do absolutely nothing for me. I would say, what happens? Like, why can't I even start it? And I would read, and there's absolutely no motivation. Like the same thing. It's like every single time I need a new motivation. Like some new person has to tell me to fast. Then I would listen. I
would just text me, like message me privately. I think maybe you would like Oliver and Kova's group. We do the cascade, and she's gonna start a new group in May 1st or April 30th. And she is really great support. Like every day she provides some new information, and it's been really, really good for me, because like for me personally, like when I did 7 days, I got off the wagon. Like that's how Arik messaged me, because I put my post on Facebook, because I couldn't get back to it. Like I know I missed it, my body missed it, but my mind for some reason couldn't get it. And like it was like I had very similar thing, like I couldn't find the motivation. Like why do I need to do it? Like before I did it to like have my wishes to come true, and that worked, or I had my body to cleanse and that worked. And then I'm just like, whatever, I almost died, I didn't die, good, like now we can just eat. So I went through like a good 6 months of that. And I think because of this, if we start and we're not really prepared, like we will swing back. And I have noticed that. But I'm right with you on the motivation, like that. But with the group, it's much easier. So somebody else asked the question. How would you describe the feeling of physical hunger in contrast to emotional, psychological hunger, and difference between the two? Basically, there is like for us to get to the physical hunger, it's very hard. It's all psychological. Like we eat, like we need food for emotions. The food gives us emotions, whatever is happy or like we need that. So we go for food for emotions. What you feel like in your stomach, it's not actually like where your body needs food. Okay, like I've read of some lectures, like if you talking about physical hunger, is the hunger that when you actually maybe in a couple of days when you're physically tired and you feel like you need energy, and that's when your body actually physically needs some nutrients to continue on. And so that would be it. It's also that will depend. We'll talk about the parasites. I don't know if it's not something that I've heard about in this group, but like parasites are the ones that kind of talking to us, so like make us hungry or make us want to like one food or another. And that's again, like the cleaner you are, the cleaner your body is, the cleaner your system is, the less of that desires you would have to get one food and another. There was a study, I think it was in one of the Zeland's book. There was a study where, oh goodness, was it like a cow? Anyways, they did a study on an animal, right? And an animal, like they had one animal who has this parasite and the other animal who didn't have this parasite. So the animal with the parasite made this animal to eat one specific like food that it was not good for that animal because it had the parasite inside. So this parasites actually affect our brain so much. And the other one, like even like they were all together in the same, like it would not eat the other food. So it's very like if you read any of the studies about the parasites. It's kind of fascinating. And like before, I was a little bit like scared, like not scared, but like, hey, like how do we have these parasites inside of the body? But we do need parasites, like to, especially if we eat like a regular like diet, like meat and animal products. We need those creatures in a way inside to like helps us to digest. And as we start changing our diet, those parasites kind of like have a protest, like they go into like, no, no, we need more, we need more. So, and that's how we swing too. And that's why it's so again important to cleanse like the system. The more we cleanse, the easier it is to change the like any diets, any preferences. Like for instance, I haven't eaten like bread in years, and people ask like, don't you want a bread? And I haven't eaten meat in like even more years. So, like, and I'm like, I don't like, it doesn't like taste good to me. It doesn't like, the smell doesn't excite me, like nothing excites me about it. So whatever that, to me, I'm thinking like whatever the parasite that needed that food, like that bread in my body is gone. So like I have no urges anymore. um I know with this, the cascade that I'm doing, it's also um the food that I'm eating is very specific. So like I've eliminated any type of sugar and honey and everything, just because it's easier on the dry days, and I know at the end of it I will be not as excited about the sugar food or like the things, like I have a sugar addiction personally. Any more? Ира, если хотите, скажите.
There is a Brazilian Pernayetka, I'm sorry, Georgie, and she was saying that once you have no sugar at all in your diet, like not even, let's say, beets, you will have no desire for food at all.
Interesting. Not even so. She's talking about not fruits. I do eat a lot of fruits. I know fruits has sugar, but it's not.
She's doing only juices and sometimes all cucumber juice. That's all.
Cucumber juice, green juice.
She was talking a lot about parasites and the desire parasites. She's amazing, and I remember that once she said, once you eliminate sugar, you don't have any desire for food. I was thinking the same thing. Like, if there is no sweet in my food, I wouldn't ever want to eat.
Yeah, sweets definitely help. Like back to the food, aka like, why do we need food? We need food for emotions, because we lack for some sort of emotions, and sugar is like sweet stuff. Like I do fruits. I'm gonna just stick with fruits. I have no desire to like not eat food at all. Like I do want to still continue, but I like the idea of being raw and eat like a lot of fruits and like things like that. But yeah, definitely. So where we are with time, about halfway there. I don't know. Any more questions? Arik, you have any questions? I kind of
No, I just wanted to say, in terms of from the technical viewpoint, they might cut off the webinar in like 10 minutes because they limit these free webinars by 40 minutes. But then I'm going to create a new link and I'm going to post it in our group. Like last time, the webinar was more than 40 minutes, but then they sent me an announcement that they wouldn't do that. Sometimes they give you such gifts, but I'm not sure. So in case it happens, you just look on the group after that, and in a few minutes after that.
Right. Just to get disconnected, and Anna, I'll send you another link. I'm wondering about Anna. She's very new. She's my friend. We dance together, and she's my friend. So she learned about this fasting very like recently. So she haven't really heard anything about it. So I wonder if you have any questions or any thoughts about it. You unplugged? I can't hear. We can't hear you. No. Okay. Maybe you type. I don't know. I
She
can.
has to unmute.
Yeah, you have to unmute. I don't know. And Mala, I don't know about that. Well, anyways, I can, I guess, talk more. So what helps, I guess, since we are here for the purpose of fasting, what has helped me is in the past and recently, it's that strong desire to do it and not to like the importance to do it. And the group that definitely helps, like doing it with the group. I haven't done it with the group in the past. Actually, nobody ever knew. Like, not my family knew that I was fasting. I didn't tell anybody because I was afraid that they're gonna think that like I'm nuts and like judge me. I was already not eating meat and like making all these dietary changes as it was. So I didn't never announce anybody that I'm not eating. I just said, like, not hungry for this meal or whatever. So nobody really noticed for like several years. And the first group I did it was the one in Rhodes in Greece. And I know there would be no way I would last 7 days without a group support and without like my peers of like, okay, one more day, it's not that bad. Then it's not that bad. They're really not. Like the days kind of become long and it's like one big blob, but um and you get really tired. Like I got very tired at the end. Like, but I was walking a lot. I was walking like 20 kilometers like a day because you just don't have a whole lot of to do, and when you're actually active it helps to get through the fast. um so that helped a lot. And then now I'm so glad with Arik group and kind of reading the post and like knowing that I'm not by myself and knowing that there's other people that also doing it, and kind of reading like so in the Cascade group, reading the responses every morning of how everybody done it, like kind of gives me a reassurance that I can also do it. And it's that group mentality too, like we're kind of stronger together. Like the group actually helps to get through it, so you're not like you're not as prone to listen to your mind and whatever your mind says to you.
Can I say something?
Mm-hmm.
You said nobody noticed that you were not eating.
Mm-hmm.
I did several experiments. I would go to the dinner and I would put something in a plate and I would and table noticed.
Yeah.
People just don't look at what the other people doing. It's so easy, and you don't ruin any social behavior. And
Right, because you don't want to be like, oh, I'm not eating today. No, just
yeah, exactly.
order something small. You can just like kind of pretend people like. I even like I have a glass and sometimes I'll pick it up and I hold it and put it down.
Yeah, I'm just doing this and I've just put it down. And the reason I'm not telling my parents or my friends, because I'm afraid even the smallest word from them would ruin my fast.
Yeah.
My mom would say like, oh, enough for fasting now, what is it? And for 2 weeks now I can't fast, and I'm thinking it's your fault. I'm kidding.
Right. It's definitely nice to have a support of people who understand you and not judge you and would support you. And if you're not sure you get like a positive like responses, then it's probably better not do it. Like very similar, like when I became vegetarian like 20 years ago, I did not tell anybody for 2 years, like just didn't. And still I wasn't sure that I was going to do it, and I didn't want to say like, oh, I'm not eating meat, and then tomorrow I'm like, oh no, never mind, I'm eating meat again. So till I was really sure about it. And the same thing with the fasting, I think, till you actually have very strong like muscle, like fasting muscle. I think it's really cool to like stay with the like-minded people and feel that support and not be influenced by like rest of the society. I've been in it for so long, but I think it's so normal when I go in the world and people like have never heard of like dry fasting. I'm like, oh, I don't know what to tell you. It's great. Like you, like everybody should do it. But yeah, definitely. Something else I was gonna talk about. Anybody else have any thoughts or questions?
And when you do drink water, is any preferences like distilled water and versus?
Yeah, so so there's that, the ideal and it's real, and like me being single mom with 3 kids, there's just real stuff. So for me personally, I have filtered water. I have a 5-stage like a filter underneath of my sink, and that's the water I drink. I don't do anything else to it. If I would be retired without kids and have all time to my hands, I would do like the water that I would get. I'll probably put it in the freezer and do all of these things like to take the metals out and put like shungit and put like silver there to make it more enriched, but I don't. At some point, I have purchased from the Coral Club. I purchased a little like packages, but I don't do that either. So now I just drink regular water. I drink like 1 glass, and then about 15 minutes I add lemon and I drink that. Um, and then I just like drink some like diluted juice, and then maybe like in an hour or so I'll eat something.
I never noticed it before. Like I would dry fast before, it didn't happen. Like, but since August last year, I would dry fast, and then like my calves they like shrink, and I couldn't even walk. Like I would walk like bending legs. I cannot run or anything. But once and finally in November, December, I figured out if I just take electrolytes, even during the fast, I would just take a salt and
What shrinks? I missed it. What do you?
like calves, my calves, ikre.
Oh, interesting. I don't know.
And I read it somewhere that's like your muscles, I don't know, shrink or what happens during dry fast.
I don't know. One thing that I like, what helps me, and it's funny, like people say, like right now in a group, and I don't know, so I don't know about the muscles. Like I don't know. Basically, I have an experience, but
Okay, I saw somewhere explanation. It's when you start dry fasting, liver gives a kidney signal to excrete electrolytes, like literally, like go and was it that's the other one? I don't know.
yeah, and I think the only thing, like for me, I think like if you just cleanse your body before, the cleaner your body is, I think the less of the effect of the fasting you'll have. Like right now, I don't feel thirsty at all. Like I remember my very first times, I couldn't wait till the morning and to get that water. Right now, I'm not thirsty. Like I don't get thirsty. It's more mental. Like I get like, okay, well, it's been 40 hours, you should just go and do something. But like I don't get thirsty, and I know like people in the group get very thirsty, but it's back to the parasites and stuff. Man, I had something that I was going to say. Anna, did you get figure out how to talk yet, how to get the volume? She's like a brand new. She's like, she did like 12 hours the other day of water fast.
I wanted to ask back to the points that were advertised actually about this webinar. During fasting, it often happens that you start having intense emotions or different thought patterns from the past come up, unwanted thoughts, things like that. So as a psychotherapist, what would you recommend best strategies of how to release it, how to deal with it, stuff like that?
Yeah, definitely. So like when Arik and I was talking in the beginning, and he asked like what would I like to talk about? So that's one of the things that fasting not only cleanses the physical body, but we also have the cognitive, our thoughts, our emotions, and they all get cleansed. Um, Again, from my experience in the 7 days, probably in about day 4 or 5, I felt like stuff started coming out of me. Like I got more like emotional. I remember calling home and feeling like kind of like abandonment and like a betrayal, like feeling comes up. So all of these things, and I'm not like the unwanted thoughts, or like I guess not so pleasant thoughts. And the only thing that I always, even when I work with my clients, what do we do? Like, what is the, like, it's a joke, what any therapist say, like, how do you feel? How does it make you feel, right? You have to separate yourself and what's going on with you, and remember that what's going on with you is not you. um and observe and notice, and not like breathe through it. There's a so the mindful practices are great for that matter, and they like mindfulness is also like a muscle, and it can be built within like a time span. Like one of the like exercises I suggest to my clients to like build that muscle, like have an alarm set for like maybe every hour of a day, where you pause and like say, okay, what am I doing now? Well, right now I don't know, washing dishes. What am I feeling? Just go through five senses. What do I hear? What do I feel? How is the weather outside? So really get back to your body. What am I thinking? Okay, well, I'm thinking about my yard while I'm doing my dishes. I'm really not staying in the moment, and just kind of getting into um like here and now moment for yourself. Staying as positive with yourself and not judgmental. That's the greatest thing you can do for yourself. Just remember all this stuff, just acknowledge them, and breathe through them. Like they kind of identify themselves, same as a pain. You want to say thank you to them, you want to recognize them, and like don't run away. Like we are like the food is also that reaction always, we feel, oh my gosh, like I have like this very little discomfort, I have to go eat something. I just do it just as anybody else, right? And like that's a reactive, so we like not do the same reaction. The definition of like crazy is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So if we break the cycle between the stimulus, between a pain or discomfort or unpleasant thought or unpleasant emotion and your reaction, that's the freedom right here, right? And if you can really sit in that space, like if you can just change the reaction pattern, okay, like every time I get sad, I call my ex-boyfriend and we try to reconnect. Like that's my reaction pattern, like my fears, right? So if I can recognize me getting sad, feeling lonely, being scared to be by myself for the rest of my life, um, and I can just sit in it and breathe through it, the boyfriend will not help. It's just going to be like a pain pill for my headache. It's not going to solve the problem, but actually sitting in that pain, recognizing it and embracing it. I mean, working with a therapist helps, but like figuring out and detaching from it. Um, the any breathing practices helps so much. Like any pranayamas, like a breath of fire is a great one. The breath of fire is that it's at the rate of the dog pounding, so it's like, but you do it with your mouth closed, like, and you pump your stomach. And you can do it. You can start with 1 minute and extend that, and that brings like so much oxygen to your body. And just Google breath of fire; it's really good for you. Um, I'm reading another question. Would you recommend if someone gets really strong physical feeling or discomfort, tension, as a result of emotions during same thing, just like if it happens, observe it, like observe, like look, like try to separate yourself and like just notice what is happening. Just talk to yourself. Like if it's like a stomach cramp, just breathe through it and say, hey, I'm having a stomach cramp right now, and it's probably my body is cleansing, and my body is releasing something that I already don't need, and it's ready to release it. And kind of like be very kind to yourself. And also, like if you don't get through it and you decide to like react to it, also be kind to yourself and say, hey, it happened right now, but next time is going to be another opportunity to start over again. So hopefully I'll answer. I have answered that. Um, yeah. Okay. So another one that I really like, it's called 1 minute breath. Um, and it's a one that they say, like, if you have a depression or if you feel sad, you can just practice that. 1 minute, the idea of it is when I inhale is 20 seconds and I inhale with 20 seconds. It's like, I remember there's ideal and there's a real. So, by the way, I forgot to mention I'm also a certified Kundalini yoga instructor. So when we inhale, start with 5 or 6 or 8 counts, and then we hold for exactly the same, and then you slowly exhale. Make sure when you do it with your spine straight. You can sit on a chair, you can stand, and do that. So inhale equal, hold, and exhale. So do that maybe 3 minutes. The alternative nostril breathing also, so we can inhale, we can just breathe through one nostril.
Anna, can you repeat the cycle? What is it?
1 minute breath? Sure. So inhale, like say inhale 5 seconds. Hold 5 seconds.
Hold 5 seconds. Okay.
And exhale, also equal 5 seconds.
And then you hold after exhale or no?
You can. There's another one that you can hold it. This one I was explaining, don't hold on the empty one.
Okay, just hold after inhale.
Inhale, when with your full lungs, hold, then exhale. But it's also really good to hold and exhale, but that's not the one I was explaining. Yeah, thank you. So the nostril, and you can just breathe through one. Just inhale and exhale through one, and you can do that 1 to 3 minutes, and then just switch and breathe and inhale through one and exhale through one. And then you can switch to inhale through one and exhale through another. And then inhale through the same and exhale through the, so just do like inhale, exhale, and then you switch the side and exhale. Okay. I can send a link to some of these breathing exercises to the group on the WhatsApp, so I don't have to like talk about it. But even me doing this couple of times, I already feel like more oxygen in my brain, and I kind of have that more energy right now. So breathing is like really my favorite one. How important do I think is the correct application of bodhas during those breathing techniques, which they helpful on. So the bodhas is the locks. So we have the root lock, we have a diaphragm lock, we have the neck lock, right? Yes, I mean, if you know them, do them. When we hold, so the root lock, it's probably my like most important one. It kind of holds all the energy in. And the root lock, when we squeeze the anus, sex organs, and then pull abdominal muscle in, and we hold it all. So when the time when you hold the breath, I would recommend to hold the root lock. Everything else, like all of them, I think as long as your spine is straight, you'll be just fine with that. There's some, so in Kundalini yoga, like with the tradition that I've studied, specific breathing techniques provide very specific instructions on which like locks to hold, but most of the time it's a root lock and the navel point that you worry about. And like your chin, you just don't want to like when you have your spine, you want your spine to be kind of aligned, because the energy travels like this. So when your spine is like crooked, the energy just have a harder time to travel. Okay, you talk about coffee when you get the chance, and maybe you should do locks. I don't understand, Irina, I don't understand the second question, but I'll talk about the coffee and all those like narcotics, if you will, like how I drink coffee. Yes, I have drink coffee. I've quit many times, and I would go back to it again. And so now again, I'm not drinking any coffee. So it's, to me personally, like I know how I feel when I drink coffee, and I know how I feel when I don't drink coffee. I also know how hard it is to get off coffee. It's so let me remember what I remember from it. There's also the misconception. So we drink coffee to what? To get more energy, right? But like if you there's a great video, I think, on YouTube in English. I think it's in English, but it explains how coffee actually affects our brain, and the receptor is basically like a sleep, like a little like a sleep receptors. They get kicked out by the coffee, and the coffee kind of replaces that, so we don't feel that the need of sleep. Yet, if you continue and increase the coffee, like the effect of it will lessen, and then you feel like you need to drink more coffee. So that's an addiction. If you anybody who drink like 2 or 3 cups of coffee um, um, a day, and then you try to quit that, you find like it gives you extreme headaches for like a long time. It's really really difficult. So that was my first kind of like aha moment of like how much is actually addictive. It's also pulls our energy away from us. Like it gives like it, like the one way, like I explained, like we have a bucket, like for instance we have a bucket of energy every day given to us, and we spend it in whatever way. So when we drink coffee, we kind of go into the bank and say to the bank like, hey, I need another bucket of energy. So and the bank gives us the bucket of energy. So what happens later with it, the bank wants more with the percentage, and then we have crashes. And it's I mean, it's not good for adrenaline, it's not good for kidney, it's not good for joints, it's not good. It's also makes it body, I don't know, щелочная и кислотная среда, I don't know the English words.
It's called kislota, means acidic.
Oh, acidity. Okay,
That means alkaline.
So it's also increases the acidity level, the and if you ever read anything, the higher acidity, the more prone of the organisms in illnesses grow there. So like overall, coffee has no benefits other than like it makes you feel alert for that time given. But the long-term benefits, it's like it's very like scary. There's no benefits in long term. But like as far as like a green tea and matcha compared to coffee, it's I don't know, maybe like if you compare like cocaine and weed, right? Like cocaine is stronger. It will alter your mind, and it will have a like more damage to you, versus like weed will have like it's not as strong and it will have less damage. But it's all drugs. It's all caffeine, just the smaller portions. It's not definitely as drastic. And again, remember, when you try to alter your diet and you take something away, be very mindful and don't like jump off the cliff right away. Even if you say, okay, I have I'm going to drink coffee. Like, this is what makes me feel good. When you drink it, enjoy it. Really embrace it. If you're going to drink green tea or matcha tea, drink. When you decide to drink it, enjoy it. If you have an intention, yes, I'm drinking coffee right now. I'm drinking green tea right now with the caffeine. But in the future, I'm envisioning myself maybe drinking green juice instead. And that gives me so much energy too. But right now, I'm drinking coffee. So being very kind to yourself, and that helps. Like, remember, it will maybe type, it will like prevent from doing the pendulum, and it will give you that smoother transition with any addiction, with any behavioral changes. Really, you have to meet yourself where you are. You can't say, well, tomorrow I'm going to do this. You have to say, hey, today I'm this and I'm okay. I got here for a reason. I want to be there tomorrow or next year or whatever. I don't know. Like, be very goal oriented, but also be very kind with yourself as you go through that. I think is very important. It's 12 o'clock and I have another meeting at 12. So thank you so much. It was really great. I've enjoyed it. I haven't done anything like that.
Thank you, Anna.
Yeah, if you have any questions, you can contact me on the WhatsApp, and maybe we'll schedule some other time, like next month.
Yeah, Anna, I was thinking about, because we definitely need you for another webinar. There are so much questions, and they were like, about also emotional eating and other things. So so it would be great. We will be in touch and schedule. And I just want to say that
I'm gonna log out because I have to go. Okay.
Okay, cool. So thank you very much. So I will just stay here for one more minute. Thank you, Anna. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. Do you know how to quit? Okay. Okay, friend. So I just wanted to say that because she mentioned the mindfulness, there is really, really good booklet that is available online for free. It's written by a Buddhist monk in a very, very simple words, how to practice different mindfulness techniques, how to observe, how to separate yourself from your experiences without identification. So if you are interested, just write me a personal message, and then I will just send you the link, because I personally find it really, really helpful.
Is it Ajahn Brahm?
No, it's a different one. It's a different one. I forgot. He has a long name. He's from Canada. He's from Canada, and yeah, very, very good, very simple and practical.
I was going to ask Anna a question, but probably you can answer me. Like when I stop drinking coffee, let's say 2 weeks I don't drink coffee, and it slows me down so much. I really, it's not Irina anymore, it's somebody else. I even scared that person. But then I would realize, like, I cannot talk to my husband. He's coffee drinker, like heavy coffee drinker. I literally, I cannot talk to him. We're in such a different level. I mean, he's like a speed machine for me. He's like so I would drink coffee just to understand what he's saying.
Yeah, I can tell you from my experience, I was addicted to coffee in the past. Okay, I would drink like three to five cups of coffee a day. So every time I would feel a little bit down energetically, I would just go for coffee. But then at some point I started transitioning to raw foods, and then I also made a program of quitting coffee. So my next step, and I just said to myself, okay, so now you're quitting coffee, but you have to substitute it with something. And because I firmly believe, I totally believe in this system of substitute. Like you quit something, but then you substitute it with something else that is a little bit better than that, but it is still satisfying. So first, I substituted this coffee with the tea, just regular black tea. So I just thought to myself, okay, so you're quitting coffee, but now you're allowed to drink as much black tea as possible. Like if you need coffee, just get this coffee from black tea. Okay, and then my next step after black tea, and then that's what I did. And then after my next step was going from black tea to green tea. So I just said, okay, so now it was done along with the transitioning to raw food. So my body started cleansing, and I started getting more energy from raw foods. So I just approached it not from the viewpoint of restriction, but rather from the viewpoint of you just quitting it, but you substitute it with something, and that something else you can use it abundantly, like as much without limiting yourself. So after quitting black tea, I just said to myself, okay, so now you're going to green tea, but just drink as much as you want. As many glasses a day as you want, you will get the caffeine. And then after after the green tea, it was herbal tea, like without caffeine, and then then I was free of coffee. So this gradual approach really, really helped me. So I haven't been drinking coffee for like maybe 5 years or more. So prior to that, I was really addicted to that. So that was my experience. But what is interesting is that before that, before transitioning to raw foods, I tried to quit coffee. I had tried to quit coffee a few times, and I did not succeed, because every time I would get lots of symptoms. I would become very weak, and kind of lethargic, things like that. So it's a real drug. It's a real drug, I can tell you. And even after not drinking coffee, when I was in the process of quitting, after not drinking coffee for some time, suddenly, I went to, I came to a particular person to his place, and then he offered me coffee, and I did not refuse. So I just drank this coffee, and I really felt like it was a drug for me. Like my body started cleansing. It was maybe after months of not quitting coffee or something like that. And then I just felt high, like from drugs, So I could really feel that it's, it's like a drug. It's like a drug. So when you quit coffee,
I think I know what you mean. Like once you transition to raw food, but if you're still drinking coffee, 1 cup would feel the same like if you just drink 5 cups on not eating raw food. Yeah.
Absolutely. So so after drinking that 1 cup, I felt extremely good. I felt extremely alert, but I also had this consciousness that it's like a drug. It's not my real energy. So I could really feel this impact. Yeah. Okay, friends. So I think it's about the time to finish. I will keep in
All right.
touch
Thank
with
you.
Anna.
Thank you so much.
Yes, of course, friends, and happy fasting.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
So I'm stopping the recording.